Hey everyone, welcome to my kitchen. I will explain why we're here in just a minute, but first I want to talk to you about what I am sharing today in this video. So this video is a special video. It comes to you from my online studio, Move with Naomi. And I recorded this video for two reasons. First is because in my studio, Move with Naomi, every month we pick a pose of the month or an action or an exercise of the month. And this month I decided to pick how to come up from standing without using your hands. And this is a skill that a lot of people want to learn how to use. In fact, part of the other reason that I'm filming this video is that my most popular video on YouTube is titled, How to Get Up from Sitting Without Using Your Hands. In fact, thousands of people have watched that video and have found incredible success with it. But some of the things that are not in that video are the things that help you prepare to get up from sitting without using your hands. Okay, so some of the mobility exercises, some of the things that I'm sharing this month in my online studio, Move with Naomi, because each month in the studio, I take a deeper look at whatever pose or exercise or action we are focusing on. And I give it a strength set or a mobility set. And this particular month, because we are getting up from sitting without using our hands, is all about mobility. It is a mobility set. Okay, so what that means is I'm teaching some mobility exercises that will benefit you if you want to practice getting up off the ground without using your hands. So we're focusing on ankle mobility, we're focusing on knee and hip mobility, and a little bit of leg strength. So what you will get in this video is exactly what the students in my online studio are getting this month in one of the videos that will help them practice getting up from sitting without using their hands. So if that is something that is of interest to you, please keep watching this video and do these really fun mobility exercises. We happen to be in my kitchen because when I was coming up with these exercises, I was in my kitchen because using a kitchen countertop or your sink or whatever you have accessible to you can be incredibly beneficial for balance in some of the ankle mobility exercises as well as some of the hip mobility exercises. Now, I also used that step stool, which is something that my kids use when they get water for themselves, when they help me bake. And I used, well, that's a yoga blanket, which I did happen to have on hand, but I'm going to scoot back. I used hand towels for my knees in one of the exercises as well, because these are things also that I happen to have in my kitchen that are useful. So I also wanted to create a video that you could do really easily anywhere, but in particular, in a place that you might hang out often, like I do, my kitchen, because I kind of like hanging out in my kitchen. Now, if you're not somebody who likes hanging out in your kitchen and you like to do yoga in your bathroom, guess what? There are towels there too, okay? Either way, I really hope that you enjoy this video. I hope for those of you that have watched the other video, right, how to get up from sitting without using your hands, that this fills in some of the gaps for you. And if you really enjoy this video and want to focus on how to get up from sitting without using your hands all month long or just consistently, please join me in my online studio, Move with Naomi or Move 15, where you will have access to videos all month long and for as long as you are in the membership to help you practice getting up from sitting without using your hands in multiple different ways. So I think I've given a long enough introduction. Let's go right in, and I will see you in my kitchen doing some ankle work. So if you're in the kitchen, great. If you're not, that is also fine. If you happen to be somewhere else, you do not need a kitchen countertop for what we're doing today. But if you have it, you can come on over to your countertop. You're going to step your left foot toward the countertop and take your right foot about, so I have tiles on my floor that are squares, so it's like a square behind, but that's really about a foot. Okay, so you don't want to be too much more than that. Okay, now you're going to start by leaning back into your back leg. Your back knee will bend a little bit and the ball of your left foot will come up. So you're creating flexion, okay, for your ankle and your front leg. Then you're going to step forward onto your left leg, bend your right knee and roll over the top of your right foot. And it's a very small bend of both knees and that'll change. Okay, but for now you're just rocking back. Ball of your left foot comes up as your right knee bends. And then step into your left leg, roll over the top of your right foot and bend both knees. Okay, and just keep that rocking motion forward and back. Now, the reason this is really important is that when you are coming up to stand from the ground, a lot of it has to do with, well, can your ankles move, right? Can your ankles flex deeply right? So you can step back further. See how I'm leaning back further? My right knee bends more. The ball of my foot comes up more. There's more of an angle even to the knee that's bent, and a shift forward, and maybe a deeper ankle there as well. So you're just starting to test not only how far back you can go, which is why it's nice to have this countertop, and how far forward you can go, and you start to add your knees into the equation. Okay, now you do still want to make this primarily about your ankles, so really try to get your hip further back as opposed to just like bending your knees and like hunching down. So you're really trying to get your hips back and forward. Okay, back, and that's why having the counter is useful, and forward. Okay, one more time, shift back as far back as you can go, roll forward. Okay, and then just roll your right ankle in circles. And again, you can use the countertop for support. You can avoid that, but you really want to isolate it to your right ankle. So you're not like moving your whole leg, which is fine, but to isolate your ankle, and do go both directions, right? Circling in both directions. Okay? Just making sure that I have sound. All right, and then you're going to do the other side. Okay, so just so you have slightly better viewing, I'm going to go to the other side. I'm going to go to my sink. I'm going to move the bowl that I made cake in out of the way. Right foot steps slightly forward. So you don't want to be all the way up against your countertop, because then you're going to have a limitation for how deeply you can bend your knee. So you want to be about a foot's distance away from your countertop, and then your left foot is maybe a little bit further than a foot behind. And you're going to rock back, ball of your right foot comes up, and your left knee will bend, your hips go back, and then you rock forward, so you roll over the top of your left foot and a slight bend of both knees. Okay, shift back, ball of your right foot comes up, left knee bends, and rock forward. Both knees bend. And you might notice a difference between the two sides of your body here. That's pretty common. So you might notice a little difference there. But keep doing this motion, maybe increasing the depth to which you bend your knees forward and how far back your hips go. So that left knee is going to bend quite a lot as your right leg straightens. Okay, it might even be something that you hold. Ooh. But just one more. Forward and back. And then you can roll your left ankle in circles. Okay, and make sure to go both directions. And again, you can use that countertop for a little bit of support, just to help. Okay, if you don't need it, you don't need it. Don't use it. Okay, and then you're going to go back to your countertop in case you hadn't left. I know that I switched sides. I'm going to go back to the first side for a couple of reasons. You're going to go to your countertop for lateral lunges. Now, squats are actually really, really great mobility and strength for building into your coming up from the ground without using your hands. Lateral lunges are great too, because your ankles are also involved in lateral lunges, but in a different way, like you're going side to side. And I'll show you, okay, using the countertops to increase the depth, and also using a stool in front of me so that I have something to hold on to. So if I'm starting up at the top, legs are wide apart, shift over to the right, your hips go back. And notice too, my hips go back. I'm not like tucking forward and like taking my weight into the countertop. My hips go back, my chest goes forward. And then I go to the other side. Hips go back, chest goes forward. Now you could increase the depth if you have drawers like I do. You could hold on, you could even hold on underneath, right? Depending on your drawers here. You could also just have your hands on the floor. Keep doing those lateral lunges. If you have a step stool, if like me, you have kids and they need to do stuff in the kitchen, you could use the step stool and just shift from one side to the other. Lateral lunges. Okay? Whee! Okay? And then wiggle yourself back up to stand. And then the last thing that we're going to do requires a little bit of softness underneath your knees. So I'm going to open up this bottom drawer. I'm going to grab all my hand towels. I'm going to put these underneath my knees because, you know, like if you're in your kitchen, very likely, if you're in your kitchen, very likely you do not have access to yoga blankets, right? So if you have access to your hand towels, you can use those. Okay, but think of it this way. You're going to start kneeling, right? Sitting with your toes curled under or the tops of your feet down. And I'll show this from the side as well. Okay, but the idea is you're going to lift your hips up, step one leg forward, push into that leg, come all the way up to stand, step back, back, and down. Okay, now if your toes are curled under, that gives you a little bit of an advantage, right? And the reason it gives you an advantage is you can push. And again, I'll show from the sides here. If your toes are curled under, right, I already have a lot of power. I can push up, step my foot up into a tight lunge, step up, step back, and step back. So having the tops of your feet down, it requires a little bit more lift from your hips, right? So a little swing action, like hips go up, okay? And then the idea, and you can do this so many different ways, right? If you still need a little bit of support, you could put one hand on your right thigh as you step your left leg forward, one or both hands on your left thigh to help yourself up. And then the same thing as you step back, you could also use that countertop to slide back and take your hips down. Okay, so keep in mind that there are a lot of steps here to sort of help you get there. But one of the things that you can really work on while you're here, and this is one of my, so those two exercises, this first one, right? So coming up, step, one hand, reaching for the counter, up, back, and down. Okay, so those are some of the options there. And when we do this the second time through, I'm going to go through it a little bit more. But another really fun exercise that you can do to help create a little bit of mobility here. Okay, and you can start with your hands on the floor. You can grab that handy stool that you were using before. You can push off, come into a squat, reach, knees down, and hips up. Okay, again, hands to the stool or to the floor, right? Push off, rock back, knees forward, hips up. Okay, so that's another really great way to work that mobility of your ankles, your knees, and your hips. So let's do that just a few more times. So hands down to the stool, rock back, knees go up, right? Reach forward and hips up. Okay, and the more you slow this down, right? So the more you can maybe not even use the stool and rock back or even do one knee into your squat and then one knee, hips up. Then you can work towards the step one leg forward, push up, step your leg back, step the leg back onto your heels and into your squat. Okay, so those are the places we're going to go. Let's go through all of them again. Okay, now that you've seen everything, let's go through all of it again. So I'm going to take my knee pads out to the sides, and we'll start with ankle mobility. So you can come back to your countertop. Left foot is forward, right leg is back. You want a little bit more than a foot between your left heel and your right toes. Rock back, ball of your left foot is up. Rock forward over the top of your right foot. Rock back, ball of your left foot is up, right knee will bend. Rock forward, bend both knees. Okay, so rock back and rock forward, bending both knees and rolling over the top of your right foot, and that's going to create extension for your right foot. As you rock back, you're getting extension in both ankles here, right? As you lift the ball of your left foot up and you bend your right knee, that's extension in both. Or I'm sorry, that's flexion in both. So just do this a few more. That rock forward, rock back, taking your hips a little bit lower and bending your knees a little bit more each time you go. Okay, last time going forward. And then ankle circles. Ankle circles. And then you'll do the other side. So you're going to stand on your right leg with a little bit of space between you and the countertop. Left foot, a little bit more than a foot between your left toes and your right heel. Ball of your right foot is up as you shift back. Roll forward so the top of your left foot comes to the ground. Bend both knees. And rock back and forward at your own pace. Keeping in mind that the movement really, you want it to come as much as possible from your ankles. Yes, your knees are involved. Absolutely, your knees are involved. Okay, but there's a lot of ankle action here. Remember, too, that you're trying to go a little bit further each time. And that's why you're using the countertop potentially. Okay, one more time, forward and back. Ooh, and then roll your left ankle in circles. Just creating a little bit of ankle mobility here. Yes. Okay, now lateral lunges. And I'm going to stay in the middle. I'm going to use my trusty stool that my kids use when we bake together like we did today. Legs go wide. And you shift from one side to the other. And the reminder here is the objective is not like how low can I get my butt, but how far back can it go, right? So it's not like how low can I get it? That's going to bug your knees most likely. How far back can I take my hips as my chest goes forward? So you can think of it as like using a stool. It's almost like you're trying to get your chest to the stool as you go from one side to the other. Okay? One more time to the right. One more time to the left. And then from here, you can grab your towels or your blanket, depending on what you have access to. You're going to put them on the floor, okay? You can start this just coming from your knees up to your hips and down, right? Knees, so if you're on your knees, tops of your feet down to make it even more challenging, okay? When I say challenging, I mean like asking more of your hips and your quads versus your feet, okay? So hips thrust up and forward into a neutral pelvis, hips go down. Hips thrust up and forward, neutral pelvis, hips go down. Okay, a few more of those. Hips go up and forward, neutral pelvis, hips go down, hips up and forward, neutral pelvis, hips go down. Okay, now, hips go up and forward. Okay, shift into your right leg, step left foot up, push, and step your right leg up. Then take right leg back, knee goes down, left leg back, and hips go down. Okay, again, hips up, lean to the left, step your right leg forward, push, left foot up, left knee goes back, right knee goes back, and sit back down, okay? Now we'll add that rocking forward and back. So this you do want to do with your toes curled under. You cannot do it comfortably or even, I think, realistically with the tops of your feet on the ground. So you can use your hands if you need to push into a squat or even into a chair pose if the squat is too much, right? And then you'd shift forward, knees go back down, hips up, step left foot up, push, right leg up, step right leg back, left leg back, back on your heels, knees up into your squat, knees forward, hips up, step your right leg up, push, left leg up, left knee back, right knee back, sit back on your heels, rock back into your squat. And remember, when you rock back into your squat, it could also be a chair pose, right? If that squat just isn't available, if that deep squat isn't available for you. Okay, then rock forward, hips up, step, right leg up, push, left leg up, left knee back, right knee back, sit back, knees up into your squat, okay? Knees forward, hips up, one more time, step up, and it does not matter, but step left foot up, push, right leg up, and that is it. That is your mobility for today. Now, there are lots of other ways to get into or get up from standing. Okay, we're focusing primarily in that moment, focusing on coming from kneeling, which is not the most accessible necessarily for everyone. However, the actions are still the same. okay? So the one other thing that you could practice this month, and this is just separate from the mobility set that we just did, okay? And I'm gonna do this with my blanket underneath me. I do happen to have a blanket with me, okay? So I'm gonna do this with the blanket underneath me just to make it a little easier. Okay, but one of the things that you can work on are windshield wipers, right? So just dropping your knees from one side to the other. And I want you to notice that I'm doing this without my hands on the floor. So I'm rolling my femur bones in my hip socket from side to side. Okay? Side to side. Now, once I've done this, okay, the next action would be to cross right ankle over left knee, right? And that cross, ankle over knee, that shift forward, okay, as you do it again, right? If you take your knees to the right, cross left ankle over right knee, shift forward, hips up, right? Then it's a step and a step up. I know my head just went out of the frame, but sort of go with it. And then it'd be a step back, right? Foot goes in and underneath. There are your ankles crossed again, and you sit. Okay, so that's that crossed ankle. If I drop my left knee over to the left and my right ankle is in front, it's the same idea. Now, I could use a hand on my thigh. I could push into the wall. If you can get that momentum forward, see, this is that kneeling. And then I turn my foot back and look, see, I'm in that tight lunge that you were doing before, and then it's just a step up, okay? So I just wanted to show that at the very end so that you could see that actually, no matter which way you do it, whether you do it with your ankles crossed to help you come up, or whether you do it from kneeling, ultimately the action is the same. Ultimately, you're still coming into that very tight split lunge, right? 90-degree angle of both knees-ish, okay, to get you up to stand. So that last piece that we did of coming up to stand and lowering back down, that's kind of the key, okay? So no matter which way you get in and out, that's the key. So I hope this has been useful. Thanks for hanging out with me in this mobility set, and I'll see you again really soon. Until then, bye everyone.